Hello Mauville Munchlaxes, my name is Hardy Tech. You probably know me as the assistant coach here of the Mauville Munchlaxes, and I will be filling in for Trainer Zabazet today, who was unable to do his battle this week. So, before we get into this battle actually has a bit of backstory, and unfortunately this is going to be a post-recorded battle, because myself and Hermasaur, who is my opponent this week of the Route 1 Bulbasaurs, had the absolute worst luck, because whenever I was ready to record, he couldn't. And then last night, Saturday, we were finally ready to record when my computer decided it absolutely needed to update with 149 updates, which took 7 hours. So by the time it was finally done, it was way too late for me to actually record it, unfortunately. Also, I do not actually have the Versus recorder in my game yet because I haven't beat my Alpha Sapphire cartridge. So Hermasaur was very nice enough to record this battle for me out of the Versus recorder, so you will notice the perspectives are switched, so I am on the opponent's side in this battle. I just wanted to get that out of the way before we started, so thank you very much for Hermasaur for dealing with all of my crap, unfortunately. In this battle, I decided to bring Mega Gallade, Zapdos, Snorlax, Typhlosion, Aromatisse, and Meganium. Some special things about this is the Typhlosion is Choice Scarf and specifically IV'd to outspeed a Jolly Mega Beedrill by 1 point. Even if it's fully invested, we will still outspeed Beedrill, as well as I actually EV'd Meganium to have a 94% chance to survive a Choice Banded Poison Jab from Sock, and unfortunately he didn't even bring Sock, but I'm actually rocking Counter on Meganium, so we'll see if that ever actually comes into play. I decided to try to use some kind of unique sets because I play very differently from Dan, so I thought maybe, you know, it'll catch him off guard or something like that. Other things of note is I'm running like Ice Punch on Snorlax, Hidden Power Grass on Typhlosion, and I'm actually running dual screens on Aromatisse with Light Clay, so pretty interesting stuff. So with that out of the way, guys, let's get into the battle now. Alright, so like I said, you will notice that I am on the opposite side of the screen this time, so keep that in mind while watching this. I decided to lead with Aromatisse because I figured getting up those screens is very important. He leads with Pyroar, which I figured that's probably okay. I should be able to take a hit or two, and he goes for the Hyper Voice. I'm thinking this is totally fine. It's not. I know right away from seeing that. This is definitely a Specs Pyroar. That did so much damage, but I got the light screen up now, so I feel I should be safe. I'll be able to live this with enough HP to be able to take another one instead of my Reflect, but no, even with the light screen, that still does such an incredible amount of damage. That is min-max for you. I'm assuming he got min on the first turn and max on the second. I go for the Wish. I kind of expect him to just go for another Hyper Voice, but I guess he's probably expecting to Predict. So he switches out into his Beedrill, which is fine by me as I go into my Snorlax. And I actually took a ton of time here to try to decide this decision because I didn't know if he's going to Protect. I didn't know if he was just going to go straight for the attack for U-turn or whatever. And I didn't know if I wanted to go for Rock Slide or Earthquake. And in the end, I did actually decide to go for, we'll get to that in a second, because first he's going to Mega Evolve and go into U-turn. I'm like, oh, what is he going to go into? What is he going to go into? Anything but Latios is fine for me because I actually went for Earthquake. And I assume, I don't know what he was predicting here, to be honest. Looking at my possible moves, I don't exactly know what he would have been expecting me to do. But I do go for the Earthquake on the Paralyzer hacks. It is not going to take it well, losing almost half of its health. Here, the Volt Switch is so incredibly obvious, and I'm thinking, oh, he probably assumes maybe I'm just going to go for another Earthquake, because it's really obvious. But no, like I mentioned earlier, my Snorlax is actually carrying a very secret move, which isn't that big of a secret. I don't know if it's super rare, but it works out very well for me as he goes into Latios, and I hit him with Ice Punch. Oh, that was such a proud moment of mine, but it was also probably a very bad moment for me because at this point I'm starting to get really kind of extra confident. It's starting to go on my head, starting to go to my head. I think it's going to go really well for me here, and I'm thinking, okay, predict. So I start predicting a lot, and here I start predicting maybe he'll stay in, and I go for another Ice Punch, and it was a Azumarill. Isn't the best thing for me, and he goes for the Play Rough. I'm like, I got this, I don't got this. Don't know why I stayed in there. Don't know why I let him do it. I was kind of hoping he'd go for the Belly Drum, and at this point I start making a lot of over predictions here, unfortunately. Now, because I know he didn't have the Sock, and I knew I could definitely live a hit from this thing, I'm thinking, alright, this may be my opportunity to go for Counter, but his switch out is really obvious because, I mean, Giga Drain and stuff, so I do decide to go for the Leech Seed. Now, this one was even, like, probably the longest turn during the game, because I was thinking, is my switch into Typhlosion too obvious? Because I am carrying a Flash Fire Typhlosion, but if I go into Typhlosion, what do? And I decided to stay in because I thought, you know, going into Typhlosion is really obvious. He's going to go for Hyper Voice. He doesn't. He goes for Fire Blast. Specs Fire Blast absolutely destroys Meganium, unfortunately. We did get on the Leech Seed. Doesn't matter that much, but I can go into Typhlosion now and force him to switch out, thankfully. With the current moves that I'm running, I'm actually in a pretty decent position because Eruption destroys a lot of things on his team except for Paralyzer Hacks. But what did I predict? Paralyzer Hacks. And I go for that Hidden Power Grass, and it is going to not take it out, but it's going to put it in a range where another one will take it out. So I'll take that because I am guaranteed outspeed. But he's not going to want this thing to die yet, and he does switch out. So, oh my gosh, this Lantern just won't leave me alone as he goes into his Cochino de Latios, who is going to absolutely eat this so incredibly well. It's a hidden power. It's a hidden miracle that this thing managed to do more than 5 damage. So I always give him that much credit. But I do decide to switch out because I definitely need this thing for later, especially for that Beedrill because it's such a huge threat. I thought he might go for a Dragon Pulse or Draco Meteor, so I go into Aromatisse thinking maybe I'll be able to get a wish for something. But no, he roosts. That's not what I wanted to see, and he does unfortunately kill me with Psyshock. So bad news, he was carrying more than just dragon type moves, and I can't get up a wish or reflect or light screen or anything else, so we have no more boost for the rest of this battle. But I do get some good information there that he is a life orb. Like, I was actually playing super seriously in this. I was keeping notes, I was writing down moves. Guys, I had an entire page dedicated to notes. This is fantastic preparation for the GBA for me. But I do bring in Mega Gallade, and I know for a fact that I can kill this thing with knockoff. I believe I actually one-shot him with knockoff, but he goes for Draco. Wow, that's fantastic. But I do have really high special defense, so I'm thinking, alright, I can maybe take this pretty well. It's only a Life Orb Latios. I barely survived that. But is it worth it to get rid of this thing? Almost losing my Gallade. Is it worth it to trade it for Latios? I would almost say yes, because if I can get rid of Latios and Lantern, and to a certain extent Pyroar, like, well, if I can get rid of half of his team, then Typhlosion can do really well. I was hoping he wouldn't have the Aqua Jet, or I was hoping he wouldn't go for it, unfortunately, because I'm like, oh, I could just switch into Zapdos and eat that up, because I don't know if he's Choice Banded or not, because he could still have the Belly Drum in the back. But seeing the fact that he did have the Aqua Jet probably makes me think he's not Belly Drummed. I don't know if they normally carry Belly Drum on Aqua Jet sets or not. But the switch into Lantern here, I figured, okay, he's probably going to be Volt Absorb. So I go for Heat Wave, thinking he's going to switch into Lantern. It's really obvious. And I'm going for the burn. I'm literally fishing for the burn right now, which is ironic because I'm facing a fish and I'm fishing for a burn. It's funny, trust me. Science and Google says so. So I keep going for the Heat Wave, and unfortunately, still nothing. But I know at this point, as long as I take this Ice Beam relatively well, I am in a winning situation. And I do! That Ice Beam does nothing. It's so fantastic having a defensive Zapdos. I actually think this Zapdos is especially defensive. I don't remember my EV spread off the top of my head because I built this team almost a week ago. So I've been prepared for a very long time, but I keep going for the Heat Wave thinking I gotta get the burn or I just gotta kill this time. And I do get the burn finally, so he's guaranteed to die this turn because I believe burn happens before leftovers. But he goes for the Scald, and of course he gets the burn as well. So it took me 3 attempts with Heat Wave to get the burn. He gets the Scald burn on the first turn. That seems fair. That's totally balanced, and it's just wonderful. And thanks, Game Freak, because I totally didn't need to Zapdos for anything. I totally wasn't just going to roost away any damage. Now I'm going to have to deal with residual damage. It's fine, don't worry about it, it's nothing. So, and thankfully for me, the Paralyzer Hacks does go down, which is actually a huge load off my mind, because I don't have to deal with that thing anymore, because that was one of the counters to my Typhlosion. Although, to be honest, at this point, with it only at like 10% health, I feel like an Eruption probably would have killed it anyways, and Hyper Voice from this freaking monster of a Specs Pyroar is going to take out my Zapdos, unfortunately, and it's fast. That is a good thing to note, but I know I will be faster. But unfortunately for me, I don't exactly have a lot of things to hit this thing with, as I do go for the extra sensory, and it does about half, which is good news. And here comes the Hyper Voice, and I live it. I live it, and my comeback is real as I go for another extra sensory, and it lives with 2 HP. Ultimately, that didn't matter much because, in the end, he could have just gone for, like, a Azumarill Aqua Jet and killed me. I did go for extra sensory because I figured he still had I don't know why I went for extra. It's because that was the only move I had that would have hit him neutral, because fire type moves would have been resisted, and hidden power grass would have been resisted, plus it would have hit Beedrill super effectively, and probably would have one-shotted Beedrill. So I was hoping to maybe he'd bring in Beedrill, but in hindsight, Azumarill with the Aqua Jet was a lot more obvious of a play. So very good game, Hermasaur. I feel bad that I let down the Mauville Munchlaxes in my very first battle in this format. So I guess this is a bit of a good eye-opener for me, because I will be competing in the GBA D-League very soon, and might not go very well. But I want to thank all of you for watching. I want to thank Dan, a Trainers Episode, for giving me the opportunity to play for him this week. I'm sorry I brought shame to you, my coach. I will do better if I ever get the opportunity again. Also, just circumstances made this like the worst possible battle. But I'm not going to make excuses for the way I played, because I let a very good decision with that Ice Punch. I let that get to me, and that was in my head and got me really cocky for the rest of the battles. So mistakes were made, unfortunately, but I will see you guys next time. If you haven't already, you should go check out my channel. A link to it is hopefully down in the description, where I will be doing videos like this very soon in the future. But until then, I'm Hardy Tech Yo-Yo.